Hello and welcome back to another Expat Profiles episode. Thanks so much for joining us. Jesse Bayer, joined today by Susan Perutka. We are out here at her home in Hacienda San Joaquin in Vilcabamba. We're looking actually sort of at one of the structures there. In this direction is Mondongo, mountain, lush landscape. It's interesting. We're into dry season here, but it's still green.
Still very green.
A little bit later than normal this year. But Susan moved here some years back. She's bought houses, done the shipping container. She's an entrepreneur. So actually launched businesses in Ecuador. Not an easy thing to do. So she's been through those wars. And she's going to talk, share her experience a little bit. And we're going to pick her brain and learn a little bit about her experiences moving here, living here, and what it's like. So thanks for taking the time. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Jesse. I appreciate it.
Of course. All right, so let's start kind of just with a little background. So where are you from? How'd you, what were you up to in your previous life, prior to Ecuador? Yeah.
BE, before Ecuador.
Right.
I moved here. I'm originally from an area that straddles the Mississippi River in the Midwest called the Quad Cities.
Okay.
Appropriately so. There are 4 cities, 2 on the Illinois side, 2 on the Iowa side. Lived there for the better part of my younger years. Went to Arizona for a number of years, 18 years, and then ended up back in the Quad Cities. So immediately prior to coming to Ecuador, I was a primary caregiver for end of life for my mom, and she was with me for 12 years, and then also I have 3 sons, so I was a single mom. So I raised my kids, and my mom eventually passed away, and now my time was my own a few years ago, and I decided to live my life, my best life.
Yep.
And so that's what brought me here. I think you and I originally started, I think I sent you the first question email in about, late 2014.
Okay.
And then talked with you off and on over the next few years. Oh, I love this property. Oh, I love that property. But timing is everything. Sure. And eventually made it down for an exploratory trip in early 2018 when we met up, and okay. I already knew I was moving to Ecuador at that point, but it was just a matter of which property. So you showed me around, did all the things, we chose this, and the rest is kind of history.
Very cool. Yeah, that's wow. So 12 years taking care of mom, and then free to live your life. Sort of kids are older.
Yeah, the kids.
What has changed that must have been. Okay, very cool. So you were looking for more so really of a lifestyle change than anything else, or what was kind of the driving force? What made you be attracted to here?
Well, I actually, it was a process of elimination. I went through just a process. I knew that I wanted to be an expat somewhere. Just for a variety.
Why? What was the?
Any place that's worth living in the United States now is pretty well priced out of the average person's income or financial means. San Diego's amazing. Nobody can live there.
It's very expensive there.
Yeah, it's very, very expensive. For me, it was quality of life. I wanted a certain climate. I wanted access to my family because my boys and I are very, very close, and wanted to make sure that we were able to travel back and forth in reasonable amounts of time. I've always been attracted. I mentioned living in Arizona for a number of years, and I've got a lot of Hispanic friends. I've always been attracted to Latin American culture, and it was also very attractive that the U.S. dollar is the currency here. I only have to learn a new language. I don't also have to learn how to manage my finances. So, it's
a lot more bang for your buck here than
very much
than what you were looking at.
Oh, no. There's no way that I could have 2 hectares of land, 4,000 square foot house, a guest house, all the things. There's no way that I would be able to have the same quality of life. Though finances were not my primary reason for choosing here. I had narrowed it down to 5 different locations on the planet, and this just happened to be the most perfect one. I came to visit. And
what was, do you remember from then what your parameters were at that time that made it sort of perfect locations? What were those?
First of all, I like the mountains and I like the weather, and there are very, very few places on the planet where you can have perfect weather in a mountainous region.
Okay.
I love visiting the coast of Ecuador, but I don't want to live on the coast. That's just not my jam. So finding a place that like this that has these views and this weather year round. Being from the Midwest, that was absolute deal breaker. If there's ice and snow, I'm out.
Yeah.
So the geography here is just ideal.
Yeah.
We sit at about 5,000 feet
Right.
and right off the equator, and it just makes for a perfect climate.
And so you came down 2018?
2018.
Okay. And so you had visited once prior to then, or that was your first visit?
I came down for my exploratory trip, which you back in early 2018, and I moved here just October 31st of 2018.
So same year. So
Same
it took you 6 months or something, 9 months, go back, take care
Wrap up my life.
Wrap up, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And then you have to, I always forget all these things, but so you purchased probably then during that time you had gone back, was that the?
Yeah, Nikki and Terry, who were the prior owners of this house, and we contracted for the purchase because I had to sell my house.
That's right.
There had to be a property sale before I could finalize the purchase here. So that was just part of the process, and you and they facilitated all of that for us, and we turned out being pretty good friends with Nikki and Terry as well. It was just a really good transition.
People.
So after returning to the States, there are a couple of properties of interest, but this was, in my estimation, the ideal. It was exactly what I was looking for at the time. So we reached out to you, Nikki, Terry, made the arrangement, and then
Sure.
it all went pretty smoothly.
And what obviously you got your visa. Did you do that here, or did you do that through a consulate back home?
My temporary visa I got through the consulate in Chicago, which is only about 180 miles from where I was living at the time.
Well, I have a friend right now who needs to go through Chicago. Was it a decent experience there, or was it?
Yeah, you just have to show up on their doorstep. They don't respond to emails, so you actually.
That's what I've been being told.
You just really need to show up on their doorstep, go early in the morning, and I submitted everything through their online consulate thing.
Yeah.
Their virtual
consulate.
Yeah. And then didn't hear back, so just drove to Chicago early one morning, and by 4:00 that day I had my temporary visa.
You did, so you actually got through same day.
Same day.
So pretty painless,
very painless.
Other than the non-responsive email.
And then permanent visa, I did through. It was during the because 21 months after your temporary visa, you can apply for your permanent. And I did the appointment in Machala, turned in my paperwork.
You did it yourself?
Yeah, I did both myself.
That's the doing it yourself here. That's gangster.
yeah. I'm a rebel.
Yeah, very cool.
No, it really just having all of your documents. Making sure that you dot your I's and cross your T's, and no matter what, you're going to make 2 and possibly 3 trips to wherever you go.
Yeah,
now Azogus is open again. So
at that point, and they're actually they're doing it virtually, so you can still actually select a virtual option and never go, which is nice. Cool. Yeah. All right. And did you, just out of curiosity for the viewers, did you do the investor visa through the house, or did you do professional or
investor through the house?
Investor.
That was the easiest one.
Okay.
There's very little paperwork. You just show your escritura and. It's easy.
So you contracted somebody who shall not be named for your shipping container. Mm-hmm. That did not go as well. What were your experiences like there?
Well, first, I'm glad that I'm glad that I imported my stuff. I mentioned my mom.
Did you actually fill up a whole?
A 20-foot.
A 20-footer.
A 20-foot.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you buy it and keep it, or did you rent it and just?
No, rented it. So there's a $3,000 deposit or something at that time. I don't know what it is now, but you don't even rent it. You just give them a deposit, and you get your deposit back when you return the container.
They unload it. They take it.
Yeah. Okay. It's a pretty smooth process. If now in hindsight, I would just choose a different facilitator. But I'm very happy that I brought down my things. I have a lot of sentimental things that belong to my mom, and we were very, very close, and I just love looking at them. It makes me happy.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't bring down any practical things. I brought down my gym equipment, of course.
Right.
That I wanted.
So all that came down in the container.
Yeah,
originally.
The gym equipment and some sentimental things. But as far as practical things, like don't bring your couch, don't bring your dining room table unless it's an heirloom. Everything can be either purchased or made here. So. your standard furniture, or just bring down things that are near and dear to your heart would be my recommendation.
Yeah, so you initially moved in here. You then purchased the property next door.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a cool story as far as what you took and then what you did with it. You
Yeah.
want to talk about that a little bit?
That was a super fun project.
Yeah.
This is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath house. It's very beautiful, incredible views, manicured lawn, and it's perfect. But right next door, there was a stable with 2 very large buildings, each about 4,500 square feet, unmaintained grounds. It was falling apart. There were literally, I have pictures, there were 250 or 300 bats living in what is now my house. And so I looked at it and looked at it.
And that's this structure that or can you see both of them? Yeah, probably you can see both of those structures behind us there.
Yeah, there was the grass out here was taller than my horse's withers. It was just so there was this beautiful piece of property that you had to drive through this kind of dilapidated stable property in order to get to. And occasionally the prior owner, Lohana gal, would allow her friends to come down and camp in the corral out here. And they were always very respectful, very nice, but it still felt like I was being invaded. I still felt with absolutely no rights to the property whatsoever. I felt like they were invading my space. So she and I negotiated for. Well, you know her, so you know that it was a hard negotiation. It went on for months and months. And she started out naming a price, and it was a ridiculously high price. So I shot back with a ridiculously low price. She said, that's ridiculous. I said, yeah, we both are now. Okay, so let's find the right number. So she's turned out to also be a friend, a close, a comfortable acquaintance. Yeah. So anyway, bought the property and had a really excellent building experience with a local maestro.
So let's clarify that for a second. So then what Susan means is she hired what we would refer to really as like a general contractor, although they're not general contractors because all those trades where back home you can just kind of push a button and the plumber shows up and electric. That's not how it works here. So basically it's sort of a mix between a GC, I guess, and a foreman. But it's really a guy who can run the job and is a builder, as opposed to sort of hiring an architect who also builds the house for you. In that case, he would have a maestro, but you kind of cut that level out, hired the what we refer to here as a maestro yourself, and you had a good experience.
Yeah, very good experience. He's a local guy. I'm not going to plug him here because I don't know if that's appropriate, but happy to give anybody his name and information. I started with small projects, which was I don't know if you can see it with the camera, but there's a very small structure over here. It's about 900 square feet.
Okay.
And that was the first thing that I contracted him to remodel. It was originally supposed to be, I guess, a cafe or something for the stable property for Hacienda San Joaquin. And so I started with that. That was a small job, and he did really well on that. So then we went to the bigger job, which was the first stable, which now is an open-air gym, housing all of the equipment that I brought down in the container. I have 3 sons. All 3 are bodybuilders. If I expect them to visit mom, they got to have a gym. So that's hence the gym. And then he did a really great job on that. And so then remodeled the what became, it's a 4,500 square foot beautiful mansion-like home that that used to have house bats. So it used to just be a house for bats. The stable was originally built by the developer of the property to house horses, but horses don't want to live inside in Ecuador. They don't have to live inside, so that vision never came to fruition. And
the original developer of San Joaquin had a vision for an equestrian themed community, which the community did very well, and he did great, and that all worked out. But the equestrian piece never really caught on. There are some owners of horses here. I think you're one.
I have 2 horses.
You have a couple of horses, and there are other people in here that have horses, but it's not this sort of theme, I wouldn't say, of San Joaquin. All right, very cool. And you actually, you're one of the lucky ones. You actually have a son living here with you.
I do.
Most of us, our families, they come once in a while, maybe.
Your daughter is here.
Well, my daughter, she's young enough to need mom and dad, but getting family to visit isn't always easy for everybody. That's awesome.
I can't keep mine gone.
Yeah,
no, it's
they like it
that's
here.
kidding. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
My 28-year-old son lives here. He got out of graduate school. He's a nuclear physicist by career. He got out of grad school.
One of those dummies.
Yeah, not too bright. You can write a thesis on making toast, but can't actually make toast, kind of thing. But he got out of grad school and he came down to visit for just kind of decompress. His plan was 2 to 3 months. Well, then the pandemic hit, the borders closed, and so he stayed for an extended period of time. And coincidentally, my oldest son, who's going to be 30, he was also here during that time frame when everything closed. So I had the benefit of having both my oldest boys here for an extended period of time. So the one who now lives here went back, got a job at Washington, D.C. With the NRO or some high-tech government agency. He was there for about a year, and I got a call, and he said, "Mom, this is just, I hate my life. I hate DC. I hate working for the government. Can I just come to Vilcabamba and sell tamales?" So he came down about a year ago. Now about 6 months ago, I guess. He works online. He loves it. He's got an Ecuadorian girlfriend. This is home for him now.
Oh, really?
Well, he doesn't. He's in Loja right now with his girlfriend. Yeah. They go back and forth.
Okay, cool. Very cool. So you have also taken on some entrepreneurial, some businesses. You've launched businesses here.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I mean, I got here in 2013. I didn't realize we were talking by the end of 2014. We only launched our business in the beginning of 2014 was our official launch, if I remember correctly. It was quite an experience for me, the first 2 or 3 years here. I didn't speak the language at that time, certainly didn't understand the culture. Basically, for me, the answer to everything I wanted to do was no. And I for the first 2 or 3 years, I thought that you just couldn't do anything here. I thought that, the bureaucracy was so, there were so many rules and there were so many steps and so much red tape that you just couldn't do anything. I learned over time it's just a different business culture and business climate. Things are done through relationships as opposed to through standard protocols and procedures. And once you're ingrained in the culture and you understand, you have the contacts and you understand the culture, you can actually do almost anything. It's really a place that's very easy to get to yes once you cross that hurdle. But a lot of people come here and try to launch businesses and fail because of some of that stuff. So it's really interesting to see you doing some entrepreneurial stuff. It seems like it's going really well. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of those experiences?
Yeah, it was not my plan to do that. I was just going to read all the books that I had not yet read and put my feet up, lay in the hammock. But so it wasn't really my plan. But during the pandemic, a couple of the neighbors and I put together a help program for some of the folks in the local neighborhoods because nobody was working. And here,
a charity thing, you mean, sort of?
It was basically a food. We took food to the locals who were not really able to work or whatever. And
nice.
The weekly packages that we took out were rice, tuna,
staples.
Yeah, staples. Mm-hmm. Most of the families here, of course, have their own fruit trees. They have eggs, they have chickens, but it's the oil, the rice, the dry goods that they were really struggling with, and that's the basis of their diet.
People like rice here.
People like rice every meal. Yeah, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. And my boys were also here at that time because of the whole lockdown thing. So every Friday, we'd pack up our backpacks and we'd go out, and it gave me the opportunity to really connect with people. And honestly, Jesse, it was so beautiful. We'd go up on the property and they came to expect us. So, if they had mandarin trees, they'd send us off with mandarins. We'd leave them their package, and then we'd go away with oranges or bananas or whatever was, whatever happened to be their thing. So it, like you said, building relationships and getting to know that life here can be hard. We're very blessed. Most of us who are expats here are very blessed. And so I built relationships, made friendships, and started thinking, wow, how could I help? How could I be part of the positive move in trying to get things moving again here? Because the economy without tourism kind of tanked.
Locally,
yeah. Mm-hmm. There weren't tourists to buy the cool blankets, the cool textiles, the specialty coffee, that all the things that are the core of a lot of
artisanal goods.
Artisanal goods. One of the things we export, for example, is there's a marble carver in Cuenca, and he carves these incredibly beautiful little sea turtles. Or even I have a big sea turtle in my house that I got. But so wanting to help restart the economy when people aren't coming in to buy little sea turtles or incredible haute de Valin blankets, let's give them a new market. So we went through the process of getting, my son Matt and I went through the process of getting our export license, and yes, that was a process. It was definitely a process.
Did you take that on yourself as well, or did you hire someone?
Well, you probably know Benora.
Benora.
Yeah,
doesn't ring the bell.
She's she's an amazing accountant.
Okay.
And so she really helped me facilitate all of the different angles, that I needed to.
How long did that take you to get the export license?
Probably about 7 months. But again, part of that was I initiated it during the pandemic, so everything
that was much slower. Did you have to? When you say the export license, are you referring also to registering all the products for export, or is that not necessary? My particular export license permits me only to export green coffee, roasted coffee, and artisanal items. I would need to, if I wanted to, for example, if I wanted to export wood products, like not artisanal carvings, but actual lumber, I would need to have a different license. Yeah, it's a different license. It's different permissions. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that was kind of how it was born, and that's the Artisans Road, and here's my plug for the Artisans Road.
That's the name of the company, yeah, Artisans Road.
The Artisans Road.
That's on, they can Google it, or artisansroad.com.
Artisansroad.com. We've got a Facebook page. We've got a web page. When you buy from the Artisans Road, you're actually buying from some awesome person who really made the item that you're really going to get. So it's pretty cool. So that's
you're selling those. I don't think they're actually cashmere, but they feel like cashmere. You're selling those blankets.
They feel like alpaca. They are not purely alpaca.
Okay.
They're a blend. But if you go to Cuenca, it's going to. There's actually tags on them that say 100% alpaca. They're not. Nobody buys 100% alpaca anywhere on the planet for $120. Nobody.
Is that right? They're wonderful blankets.
They're amazing.
We've bought several of them here. They're the way they feel. I mean, they're very
amazing.
Luxurious.
They're very luxurious, and they hold up incredibly well. I have two Rottweilers who will sleep with me every night. Yeah, don't judge. I love my dogs. And 2 Maine Coon cats, and we all pile in bed together, and they waller all over this. And I have several blankets, but this particular one I've had it was one of the first things I bought when I came to Ecuador. So it's been 4 years, and it gets washed probably 3 or 4 times a week because it gets wallered. So yeah, these things are great.
You wash them in water?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And hang them to dry.
So you're exporting blankets, coffee, artisanal goods.
And things we don't really do anything that needs sizes. There are things that are super popular though. Ponchos are very popular, both for adults and children. And there's the ladies who do the embroidery. Yeah. They make some absolutely beautiful little girls' dresses, and we export those as well. Those things are awesome.
Yeah, and these are. I would imagine, just because knowing where those come from and who makes them in general in Ecuador, these are indigenous communities that are producing these goods.
Yes.
So it's sort of the legit craftsmanship of Ecuador.
Right.
That's really cool that you're taking that to the States. Is it the States mostly?
Yeah, the States. Yeah.
Because good.
It's we don't do anything that says Ecuador on it, or nothing touristy or gimmicky. It's their products. They're very, very high quality products that are made by the artisans in the indigenous communities.
Yeah,
including some of the beadwork, which is just incredible.
Yeah, because Ecuador is actually the place that Panama hats come from.
Yeah,
and they export a lot of Panama hats, but not a lot of other amazing stuff. And so that's, again, very cool that you're doing that. Yeah. You mentioned a minute ago a little bit about the culture. Mm-hmm. What do you? Well, let's start. What's your least favorite thing about the culture here? Or if that's harder to answer, what's your least favorite thing about living here? Either way you want to.
My least favorite thing, and this is entirely me, is nothing. The trains don't run on time.
To speak.
Yeah, they're not actually trains. We don't have a.
There's
we don't have a train
one,
service.
I think.
No, that the pandemic killed that one. I did have the opportunity to go on the train a couple of times before that, but it's you really. I'm a clock watcher. Okay, it's 11:01. All right. And you just got to let that go here. You just got to let that go. So that's been culturally, that's been a difficult transition for me. I'm getting better at it. You know, I'm learning to fill my time. Okay, I have these other things on my list to do as well, so I'll do those while I wait, kind of thing. But
totally, it's an adjustment.
That's been a challenge. Yeah. And realizing that I've explained to close friends culturally the difference here. Let's say you're in the grocery store, okay? And you meet a friend in the grocery store. So you're standing in the aisle and you're chatting. If someone comes up wanting to get through, you recognize, oh, we're blocking the aisle. We need to move. We're being rude by blocking the aisle. The cultural shift here is that if I meet you in the grocery store and you and I are chatting and someone comes up and wants through, they just need to wait patiently because it's rude to interrupt us. You know, those are the kinds of cultural differences that you just really need to understand and realize that the learning curve is mine. The culture is not going to adjust to me. I need to adjust to the culture.
No, I mean, that's, in my opinion, that's almost the only thing you can really do wrong here is if you try to get the culture to adjust to you.
Right.
It's almost one of the only ways you can really piss people off.
Exactly. It's like you do not want to reprimand the older person that just cut in line. You never want to do that. No. You know, anyone who's 65 or older just gets preferential treatment, and they get to go to the front of the line, and you just smile and tell them have a nice day.
So what's your favorite, aspect of the culture or of life here?
Oh gosh, everything else. It's the people here, and I've been very blessed because I got in with the Toledos, the Delgados, the just really, really good, strong families, and I've felt so welcomed. I told you on Saturday I've got a first communion that I'm going to go to for the son of a friend. Mm-hmm. So I've been really, really blessed to have been warmly welcomed culturally, and most of people are very patient with me about my language. I speak Spanish now at probably the level of a 5-year-old child, which is pretty good.
Pretty good. I can communicate.
Yeah, I can communicate. My grammar is bad, and I use my pronouns incorrectly. But so that just feeling like I'm home, just feeling like this was my place, and my transition has been really soft.
Yeah.
I know that there are some expats who come and spend their year or two here and then they go somewhere else because it's not a good fit, but that hasn't been my story.
Yeah, I think a lot of that too is just the attitude piece that you mentioned. It's sort of, are you going to adjust to them, or are you going to expect, them, so to speak, to adjust to you?
Right.
I think that's a big key to successful here or not successful here.
I agree.
Because there's a lot of acceptance that you have to have. It's funny you mentioned the time piece. I came here. I was living in New York City for almost 15 years, where you have to be on time. Maybe somebody will wait 5 minutes. Maybe if you're 6+ minutes, they're not there anymore. You've missed your shot, and they're not taking your phone call either. It's pretty much over at that point. Maybe once or something, but And that was always very difficult for me because I'm kind of naturally a little bit late. You know?
So that was a good fit for you.
So, right, when I got here and I realized, wait, nobody cares if I'm late, it's fine.
Oh, thank God.
It was such a relief. And then, and yet, there was some frustration because I was coming from, you know, the New York attitude and the business climate of New York.
Sure.
But what I realized over time is that in many ways it actually works better, you know. So for example, if you've got something scheduled at 2 and then something else scheduled at 3:30 and something else scheduled at 5, and you know, it's those things because someone doesn't show up at 3, they show up at 3:30, or this happens or that happens. But the way that people sort of react to that is everything is kind of a tentative plan.
Right.
And you just kind of hang around, and if you have to cancel or you're going to be late or you have to push back, it's totally okay.
Totally cool.
There's no, so you don't have, so the stress is gone. There's no, it's like, oh my gosh, I have this thing at 4, I'm going to be late. You don't have to have any of that. You know, and of course people appreciate if you let them know, hey, I'm running a few minutes late, like
sure.
Like anywhere. But there's just no, you know, the stress level kind of went from 100 for me down to 10 or 15.
You're not going to lose your relationship because of a 5-minute lag or even needing to cancel or whatever. The relationship remains, and that's secure, and that is a really nice feeling here. That, you know, there's a lot of wiggle room in terms of, you know, if I had an appointment yesterday and. As it turns out, there was some events that happened, a car problem, and then the gal fell. I don't know if you heard about that, but
no.
You know, people are more concerned about people and the well-being of people. You know, of course, please cancel, get her taken care of, all those things. It's very much, it's not a thing society, it's a person society, it's a human society, and there's a lot of room there to make mistakes and get grace. On the other hand, if you're an asshole, you're out.
Totally.
Don't be a jerk.
No, I mean, that's always the advice I gave people was, number 1, roll with the punches, and number 2, just don't be an asshole.
Good, very good advice. That's probably good anywhere in the world, but here particularly. Because if you're, especially with the local people, you know, Ecuadorians, I find that if you're a good person, you are just, they wrap their arms around you. I was sick, I got the flu or something early, I don't know, a couple months ago. And Yolanda, every single day, she's bringing me soup that I couldn't eat, you know. She's taking care of me, you know, the cold cloth on my forehead and all of that. They're just incredibly, incredibly gracious people.
It's a very human culture. And you mentioned, too, earlier, family. And you mentioned you got in with some of the good families. It seems to run that way, doesn't it? It's like you have families where everybody in the family just seems to be a great person. Yeah. And you have other families that it's like a little more sketchy. But it seems to almost be family by family in that way.
Well, the particular family that I referenced, the matriarch of the family has 11 children, and she's raised them with just tremendous amount of love and firm discipline. Yeah. And all of them they're hard workers, they're decent, they're friendly, they're kind, it's just all good. And I attribute that to, you know, it's like just like you raising your kids, you know, you're super involved with your family, and that's gonna show. Yeah.
No, it's true. I've described the sort of, it's back home, it's relationships tend to be pretty transactional.
Yeah.
You know, it's sort of like what I can do for you, what you can do for me. And that's okay. That's part of human interaction.
Sure.
But here, it's definitely much more based on, you know, what is it that you actually need as a human being? What do I need as a human being? Yeah. It's much more sort of centered around those kinds of things. And people, they base their life much more on family, on children, on, you know, taking care of people. When someone's sick, the whole family drops everything. And there's no more, I mean, you know, I get things canceled all the time because somebody's kid is sick or somebody's, you know, somebody's in the hospital, some family member's in the hospital or something. And that's it. The life stops. The whole family goes and deals with it. And it's beautiful. Right?
It absolutely is. Yeah. It absolutely, and that to me is that's part of the culture that's very attractive. I said I'm, you know, very close with all 3 of my sons, who they come and go, you know, well, one lives here, but they've been down multiple times. and along with some other friends from Arizona and high school and what have you. But so that aspect of having family be a super priority, again, that's a good fit for me.
Yeah. What do you think about Vilcabamba in particular? Like, Vilcabamba it's a unique town, right? I mean, it's probably
I don't think there's any place on the planet
in the
like
world.
Vilcabamba. It is definitely its own personality.
Completely.
Yeah.
What do you like? What are your thoughts in general?
Vilcabamba, and I don't know if it's the climate. I'm not sure how this ended up, but it's amazing to me that in a community this small, we are so multicultural.
Right.
I know people from Israel, Bulgaria, Poland, of course, U.S. and Canada, Japan, Korea, literally all
over
Germany,
South and Central America,
all
too.
over South and Central. So it is just such an amazing, eclectic, multicultural group. It's on one hand very conservative, but it's very progressive. It's a
little bit of everything.
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything. And I think no matter what a person's looking for, you can gravitate towards your niche. If your thing is to sit on the sidewalk and shoot the breeze with your buddies for several hours every day, you can do that. If you want to start a business, you can do that. If you want to travel, it's a place where really anything goes.
Would you say there's a sort of overarching theme amongst foreigners and expats, and even tourists maybe, but people who, well, let's say that live here. So that aren't from the town, aren't from here, but live here. Would you say there's a theme that runs through that at all, or is it really just a total smorgasbord?
No, it's a smorgasbord, but at the same time, there is definitely a theme, because the people who stay here, the people who find their place here, kind of follow a similar worldview, if you will. Most of us are anti-vax, I guess. Am I allowed to say that?
We'll find out.
Most of the people who come here and choose to stay here tend to want to be autonomous. I wouldn't say anarchistic, but definitely a live and let live. You do you, I'll do me. Your business is yours, mine's mine, and definitely people who are looking for health, well-being, alternative medicines, alternative holistic type, healthcare, well-being, the kind of people who would prefer a midwife over an OBGYN for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think I agree. I think the way I've described that in the past is sort of, if I had to put a theme, it would be freedom. People who are interested in sort of freedom, which is kind of exactly really what you just described.
Autonomy, again, and not anarchy, because we're very integrated, we're very involved in each other's lives here.
Yeah.
But so it's not really, but even then is kind of anarchistic, because it's, the opportunity to contract freely. Right. To, if you have something I want, we shake hands, we do the thing, but we're not looking for a lot of oversight or governance.
Yeah. No, and it fits in very well in a lot of ways with Ecuadorian culture, which is very much, a handshake culture.
Very
much a reputation-based, sort of relationship-based, trust-based, if it's established, and that sort of thing. So,
relationships take time to build, and I think a mistake that some expats make when they come here is this idea that they come thinking that they're going to be do-gooders, and that's really not. That is, they don't need our help. During the pandemic, they did. That was, but
everywhere.
Everywhere. We all needed a hand up. But the idea that it's a very patronizing and condescending idea that some expats come here with, thinking that they're going to save the world, but this isn't a world that needs to be saved.
No.
People are content, they live their lives, they, go to work, they do their thing, and their lives are full without our. So if you come here with the idea that I want to be a part of the community, as opposed to I somehow have the ability to save the community, it's a healthier approach.
It's a great point. I couldn't agree more. What are your thoughts on safety?
I'm safe.
Yeah, I mean, because a lot of people have that concern. They want to know.
Yeah.
They're like, is it safe down there? Can I live there? Like, what are your experiences?
I get on the bus, I go to Guayaquil. Now, I don't recommend running around Guayaquil at night, but anywhere, I don't hesitate to jump on a public bus or a cooperative and go to Azogues or go to Cuenca or go to wherever, Vilcabamba. Sure. As a individual single person, I don't have any concerns. I'm not stupid. I don't go to the parts of town where I shouldn't be. I don't get publicly drunk. I don't. There are things exactly what you would do in your hometown.
Anywhere, right?
Do here. Yeah. And if you exercise standard safety, but I have no concerns. It's about 4 kilometers to Vilcabamba. I've many times opted just to walk. Wanting to walk. I have no concerns walking along the streets or. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people have those images, I think, from the movies and things like that. And so, it's funny because statistically, like, these places are a lot safer than most cities back home.
If you think of Mayberry at home, it's Vilcabamba here. If you're in the middle of Chicago or the middle of Guayaquil, it's a different story.
That's
but
right.
Most, even in Loja, I have no real concerns about walking around. I don't know if I'd walk around by myself at night in Loja. I just don't know. I never had the occasion.
Yeah, I mean, maybe as a female, maybe not at 2 a.m., but not because anything would happen, but just because
I'm a female and it's 2 a.m. Yeah, right? Yeah. No, I feel safer here than I do in my hometown, for sure.
Yeah.
It's 180 miles from Chicago, and there's a lot of overflow from some of the people who need to not be in Chicago for a period of time will end up now in the Quad Cities. And it's I feel very safe here. But again, it's be prudent. Don't
Sure.
do stupid things.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. No, I agree. We share a lot of perspectives on that. Anything we haven't covered that
Coffee lab. I want to talk about the coffee lab. One of the things.
Right. This is really cool. Yeah.
One of the things that I have the opportunity, my permit allows me to export is green coffee or roasted coffee. But in Ecuador, a lot of the coffee it's amazing, over the top quality coffee, but
wins awards all over the world every year, specifically from this province,
Loja province.
Yeah.
What happens though is a lot of the very small farmers, the micro growers, the campesinos, they may have a hectare,
which are most,
which are the vast majority,
nearly all really in this region.
Yeah. A lot of them simply don't have the financial resources to get their coffee quality checked and to learn the processes that will bring up their grade to a point where it's all specialty coffee. It all grades above 80 points, which is what the entry level for specialty coffee. But they don't even know what the grade of their coffee is because it costs maybe $25 here to get it cupped. They don't have it. So I'm working with Hubert Ontaneda, who is he's got Soul Coffee Roasters. He's won several awards for being the best cupper in Ecuador, and he's also independent.
Forgive my ignorance. What's a cupper?
It's the guy who decides the quality of the coffee.
Got it.
It's like wine has points that are awarded to it, and coffee is exactly the same thing. So a cupper, or
he's here, the sommelier of coffee.
He's the guy. He's the guy who says this is a good batch and that's not. So Hubert and I have started work. We've been working together for a while, but one of the projects that we've just launched or are in the process of launching is the public coffee lab. That's a place where these folks can take their coffee and get it cupped if for whatever reason their processes need to be improved so that they have a better quality because they can call a better price. What happens now is, they know what the quality is, a broker will come in and say, I'll buy it all, but I'm going to give you $2.70 for it. Well, once they get it cupped, $2.70 a pound.
A pound, okay.
Yeah. So then, but if they get it cupped and they find out that it cups at 84 or 86, it's actually worth maybe $3.50 a pound. But they don't have the opportunity to know that. So the public coffee lab is a place where the campesinos, the micro growers, can take their coffee, get it properly cupped. If their processing needs improvement, without getting into a lot of detail about coffee, there's just, after you pick it, there's ways to process it to improve the quality. Then the public coffee lab will go with the growers and help them learn these processes so that they can improve the quality. What that will do, ultimately, the goal is to provide a place where the very poorest of the growers can take themselves from that poverty level to a much higher level, because now they're getting paid fairly. They've got processes in place that enable them to call better prices for their coffee on the international market. And so, you improve the life of one farmer, you improve the life of his neighbors, you improve the life of the community, and everybody wins.
Totally.
So the what's in it for the roasters, the idea is behind the coffee lab. Those who support the coffee lab, the roasters primarily in the U.S. at this point, who support the coffee lab have first dibs on some of the best coffee coming out of Ecuador.
Oh, it's a great model.
We'll keep a business, or we'll keep a database, so that before the offers go public, those who support the coffee lab have first dibs at the coffee, and they'll have the opportunity to know personally who their grower is. Like if you want to call the dueña, the owner of the finca, the owner of the farm directly, get you a translator, or if you speak Spanish, great. Talk to your grower. So
that is really cool, Susan. And is it built, or is it in the planning stages? Or where are you at?
The lab itself we're about 90% there. Nice. There's a beautiful new facility.
This is in Loja.
In Loja, yeah, in Loja. There's a beautiful new facility. We are lacking some major pieces of equipment. A roaster that can service this kind of we have small roasters, but we need a much larger roaster in the price range of $25,000, some shelving, and some other minor stuff. So we are fundraising. We've got a GoFundMe.
How can they find that?
Go to GoFundMe and just do a search for the Public Coffee Lab.
The Public
Coffee Lab.
And if there's roaster, or I don't know if they're coffee buyers, whatever they're called, in the States or anywhere, who are watching this and they wanted to get in on those, give some funding, is that an option as well?
Absolutely. We're or if you just love Ecuador and you want to support the campesino growers, go in, give your $5, your $50, your $1,000, because once we have this Public Coffee Lab up and running, and we're probably 2 months away.
Nice.
The startup is we have the plans, we've got the growers, where we're going to start with that.
Yeah.
But we need the roaster and a couple of other things, and honestly, the Artisans Road and Soul Coffee Roasters are tapped for this project. So we're reaching out to the greater community and saying, if you have a heart for Ecuador and you have a heart for the campesinos, contribute.
Let's go make a video on that, just specifically, if you want.
Yeah, that would be fabulous.
Yeah,
and I know Hubert would be happy to do that as well. We'll certainly. It's the lab is beautiful. It's
No, it's really needed, because the situation you described, I've seen it over and over and over again. It's like you said, there's some of the best coffee in the world here. People have no idea what they're looking at. They're just growing it. They're doing a great job, right. But it's in tiny quantities. They sell it to whoever comes and buys it. It's really they're very much in need of this service. So it's a project that I think can very much change communities. Literally change the financial well-being and the opportunities for education. Everything that goes along with success in a community. They can have libraries. So they can have internet. It's hard in these communities without being paid fairly for what they do. It's hard to get out of that. Yeah.
To rise above that. So yeah, I'd love to do just a piece on that.
No, it's interesting too, because in Ecuador there's kind of two tracks. And there's more than two, but there's really kind of two tracks socially. There's what you're describing as campesinos, which is exactly right. Which I don't know. The rough translation, right, would be like country. I don't know if bumpkin would be the right word, or just
peasant,
or just rural. Yeah, maybe, but that has some connotation.
Yeah.
I don't know what the perfect translation would be, but it's definitely someone who's from the country, from the rural areas, who's generally speaking a little bit simpler, a little bit more down to earth, works the land, that kind of thing, and doesn't have a lot of education usually, and that sort of sector of society, while living great lives in most cases, and great people and all that, don't necessarily have the access to they don't have the business acumen, they don't have the access to, they don't understand legalese, they're not going to understand all these kinds of processes, things like that. Then you have the whole other section of Ecuador that has all of that.
Right.
Those are very much different worlds.
Very much different worlds.
Yeah, so sort of helping, creating a bridge is really a good.
Yeah, we're very, very excited about it. The Artisans Road is going to have a presence at Coffee Fest in Chicago, June 24th and 25th. We actually rented a booth so we can help, at least in the Midwest, help some of the coffee folks be aware of this, and also form that link between the people who buy the coffee and the people who grow the coffee. Build that database. So if they, so we'll have a presence of a fairly significant presence at the
Nice.
Coffee Fest in Chicago, hoping to fundraise to finish it off so we can get this thing open and running. And we're just, let's see, what is this, May? June,
middle of June. Yep.
So the one growing season has it's constant growing, but one growing season has kind of closed. So there's a lot of coffee out there that's currently being, dried and prepared for market. So if we can start cupping the coffee and start getting quality and getting it on a ship to the States, that's the goal.
Nice. Well, Susan, I appreciate your time. Anything else that we didn't touch on?
No, I'd like to talk a little bit about your retreat. If you don't mind.
Go for it.
So Abundant Living Ecuador has recently launched, or they're in the process of launching, a Vilcabamba lifestyle retreat.
I think that's what we're calling it.
Yeah. When I first got here, this is no kidding. When I first got here, I used to walk to Vilcabamba because I've been to Chicago, but I didn't know how the cab worked. I didn't know if there's a cab. There's people sitting in the cab. Can you flag it down? But you just, like, before I bought my motorcycle, I can't tell you how many times I walked into Vilcabamba because I felt weird with the cab situation. So, and little things like that. What I now know is that if cabs going by, you just wave at them and, they charge you 50 cents or $1 depending on how far you're going. But anyway, the Vilcabamba Lifestyle Retreat, it's a week-long period of time where you and Ryan and Carl, you want to talk about it?
Sure. Yeah, so Susan's actually jumped on board to help us with some of the admin side of that. That's been great. We appreciate you doing that. And yeah, it's an 8-day retreat. They're staying, we're hosting it at what's widely considered the nicest hotel in town. And really the goal of it is sort of to mix kind of an Ecuador 101 crash course, a Vilcabamba 101 crash course, a kind of Ecuador boot camp type deal with a bunch of relaxation and good experiences and tours and getting to know the area. And perhaps, the restaurants, all that kind of stuff. And perhaps as importantly as anything, a lot of Q&A and a lot of expert panels.
Right.
So if you want to know about construction, or you want to know about the visa process, or you want to understand real estate, or you want to understand legalities or taxes, we have discussions and actually panels that are legit experts. We've been here a long time. We know the right people to talk to about things. Who will have presentations, do the Q&As, all of that, and we're leaving again plenty of time for socializing and relaxation and all that stuff as well. But you also get to know all the surrounding area. So we're not going to go 2, 3, 4, 5 hours away. It's not a whole Ecuador, but in this region you're going to know all the little towns. You're going to know the city, where to buy stuff. We're going to integrate a bit into the community. You mentioned the the health sort of angle to Vilcabamba. Vilcabamba is known as the Valley of Longevity. There's all sorts of myths around people living to be, well into their hundreds. Indigenous groups going up to Mandango to heal, and there's all kinds of thoughts and sort of myths and different energy around that. For whether it's that or whatever reason, Vilcabamba has attracted an unbelievable quantity of world-class natural health practitioners. So we actually have a health day built in where you'll get to know some of them, and they'll hold little workshops and things like that. So should be fun. The first one is July 16th. I didn't expect to do this promo, but thank you. The first one is July 16th, so just about exactly a month actually from today. And then we'll run another one sometime in the fall, probably October, November will be the second. And it should be a good time.
more than a promo, though, really, I think for my part, like I said, just simple things like how to get on the bus. How do I, if I want to go to, where do I buy chicken? How do how do I know where the best mangos are? Just little things that make the difference between a smooth transition and it being a little more difficult. And I just personally, I think the retreats are a fantastic idea for anybody who's seriously thinking about relocating to this part of the world, because it'll give them the insights of what real life is like here, not like a vacation where you come and you stay at your hotel and you don't really get those insights. It'll really showcase this is life here, and I think that's a very, very important service.
No, thank you, and that's really the idea. The idea is after the 8 days, you're going to know if this place is right for you or not.
Right.
And we're even getting into investing opportunities and different things like that, because Ecuador is a fun country. It's a fun country. In many ways, it's kind of the Wild West. It's kind of the frontier. And in some ways, it's not at all. But in other ways,
but you still see kids riding in the back of the pickup truck, going to ice cream.
Right.
Going to get ice
stuff
cream
with no helmets.
Yeah.
And, anything goes in many ways, which I appreciate. But,
I do too.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
very cool.
Very cool. Thanks, Jesse. I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today. And
No, absolutely.
what you guys do. I'm here personally because of the contact I made with Abundant Living Ecuador, and I appreciate that. This is my best life, and it didn't happen because of you, but with your help, it certainly. The story of my life is still being written, of course, but without seeing Abundant Living online and having the opportunity to meet with you during that exploratory trip, it would look very different than it does now, and I'm pretty happy with how it looks.
Awesome. Well, I'm happy to hear that. Thank you all for tuning in and taking the time to watch. Please do give a like, throw us a comment, ask any questions you have in the comments, share this if it resonates with you, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.
Ciao.